So in this video, we're going to look at the two best online tactics for Football Manager 2024. Now, recently they just concluded the FIFAe World Cup for Football Manager, the very first time, the very first edition, and the final featured Germany against Indonesia, and those two teams were actually excellent throughout the entire tournament. I know England was also in the semi-final. England actually got knocked out by Indonesia, and South Africa was the fourth team in the semi-final. They got knocked out by Germany. Germany actually destroyed South Africa, that we were actually thinking they were going to go ahead to the final and destroy whoever they met in the final. But it was interesting to see how the team that got to the final against Germany were going to handle it. So in this video, we're going to look at the tactic of both teams. Germany's excellent tactic that they used to actually fly through the tournament and tear everybody open, and then we're going to see Indonesia's tactic, the tactic that actually nullified Germany's almost overpowering tactic. So it's really interesting to see how we're going to unbox this entire video, but bear with me. So I opened my pack save. I'm actually going to tear out these tactics and just start a new one, because that's actually where we're going to use to break down the tactic of both teams. But first of all, we're going to look at the Germany tactic. They played a very unique combination in defense, midfield and attack. But hold on, let me just go ahead and clear everybody here. What Germany went on to do, if you look at their starting position, they had a goalkeeper play as a super keeper on defend duty. Then right ahead of him, they had a libero also playing there. A libero was playing on defend duty as well. And beside him, they had two ball playing defenders, shockingly playing on stopper duty. I don't know how this happened, but it was really working effectively for them, and throughout the tournament they were scoring a lot of goals. They had a lot of attacking roles, and in wing back position they had both wing backs playing on attack duty. That was very interesting to see as well. And shockingly, they had their second volantes also in the team. The second volantes were also playing on attack duty. Now, most of these tactics do have internal player instructions, and I noticed it when I was watching FIFAe tournament, but you can't really look in depth into the manager's team instructions and player instructions because a lot of information is flying all around. But I tried to take down a few notes, and in attack they had three center forwards. The first of the center forward was an advanced forward on attack duty. They also had a complete forward on the left hand side playing on support, and on the right they also have a complete forward supporting the attacker, also playing on the right hand side as a complete forward. So the team instructions were quite unique as well. So what they did for the team instructions, we're going to go over the possession phase now. They started with a shorter passing and of course played with a higher tempo. They also had the run at defense selected. The focus play was down the right, both left and right, and then they also had underlaps. They were playing with underlaps even though they had their wing backs playing on attack duty and flying out wide. They also had a narrow width, but if you look at the way the team played out in transition, the team had distribute quickly off for the goalkeeper. They also had the goalkeeper rolling it out somehow. They were also distributing that ball to the center backs. The only other instructions I noticed, there was counter press and counter instructions selected for the in transition phase. Out of possession, they had a high press selected, and of course a much more often trigger press. They also went ahead to prevent the short goalkeeper distribution. They played with a much higher defensive line as well, and the step up more instruction was also selected. So this was kind of how they destroyed teams and went all the way to the final. This is the system that they went on to use Germany. The last instruction that I want to note here is that they had the mentality set to attacking. I think they had a different set piece that was slightly more cautious and maybe a balanced mentality, but this is the one that I noticed they used very often and went all the way to the final, especially in the semi-final and in the final. So what tactic was able to actually nullify this overpowered tactic? We're going to look at the Indonesia tactic next. Just go ahead and create a new one, and this Indonesia tactic was actually the one that knocked out England. And if you remember, RDF was actually representing the England team. He did spectacularly well, and I think when you look at the way the final turned out, it shows that RDF actually played quite well against this Indonesia team. So we're going to just set it up the way I saw it happen. 4-2-3-1. I don't know if it was gegen pressing or anything like that, but I know it was a 4-2-3-1 and they had fullbacks on support duty, which is really strange. Okay, I do have to correct myself there because the fullbacks were actually on attack duty and not on support duty, because it's really important that this was the tactic that went on to win the entire FIFAe tournament for Football Manager 2024, the tactic that we're about to build right now. So if you look at the super keeper, what they had was a super keeper on support duty as opposed to defend duty. They had two ball playing defenders as well. Both of them were also playing on defend duty. And in defensive midfield, they had their DMs and they had them as defensive midfielders, both of them playing on support duty. So they were not very adventurous or very expansive and attacking with their roles. In the number 10 position, they had an attacking midfielder playing on attack, and beside him, they had two inside forwards, each of them playing on support duty. Again, I need to mention their internal player instructions, but the broadcast was so quick that you can't really look at every manager's internal player instructions, obviously. So I just had to pick out what I was able to pick out and make my notes. In attack, they had two strikers actually, or they had two striker roles. One was the advanced forward on attack, and I think in the final, they went on to use a pressing forward on attack at some point. but that's kind of what I noticed. But if we get into the team instructions for what Indonesia went on to do, they went on to have a positive mentality. So let me just start with that initially. And they kind of played a patient approach because they had a walk the ball into the box instruction. They were also playing low crosses, so they were kind of able to control games and just not do anything too expansive or too rash. They also play with a slightly shorter passing and slightly higher tempo. Like Germany, Indonesia was also looking for the underlaps, both left and right underlaps. They were also focusing their play down the left and the right flank, so this seems like a pattern. They were also playing a very narrow attacking width, which is unique in kind of how Football Manager works, but it got them to the final. So that's something we're going to really learn about tactic and how they work. They also play for set pieces, but I think this was towards the latter stages of the game. I think they turned that on. It wasn't initially there. They can run a defense as well. That's what they asked the team to do. And that wraps it up for their in possession instruction. When they went for in transition, counter press, counter, goalkeeper was also distributing quickly and rolling it out. But this time there weren't any forced instruction to who the goalkeeper was rolling the ball out to. So even the defensive midfielder could actually get possession of the ball. Their out of possession instructions were quite tricky. They had a much more often trigger press with a high press, and shockingly they didn't have a high defensive line, so they just used the standard defensive line in this case. They also prevented short goalkeeper distribution, but they got stuck in as well. One more instruction that I think really won it for them was the stop crosses instruction. A lot of people say it doesn't really change anything, but the fact that the tactic that actually won FIFAe 2024 tournament in Football Manager had this instruction in there, it means there's something really special in there that we're not really paying attention to, but it did work out for them the way their tactic was actually set up. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of internal player instructions, so I don't really know any of them. I had to watch it on the fly and make notes, but these are the two tactics that actually went all the way to the final. I'd like to say congratulations to everyone that was involved in FIFAe for Football Manager 2024. It was a wonderful experience watching the entire tournament, all through how many days that we had to actually watch it. I do hope we get more of this tournament. Football Manager is growing really massive, and I'm enjoying all the support that this game is getting. It's really a special experience, and I'd like to thank everyone that was actually involved. So those are the best two tactics that went all the way to the final in FIFAe 2024. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you actually enjoyed watching the tournament yourself, or if you looked at any of the tactics that I might have missed something, you can let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you with more Football Manager videos like this. Do well to subscribe for more Football Manager videos like this. I do go on to share tactic videos, and if you're into that kind of stuff, yeah, that's probably why you're here, right? So see you in the next video.